What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex. I'm once again joined by Tyler. We are back for another video on our Mandalorian community series, a community series that airs every single Friday on our channel, leading into the Mandalorian releasing on Disney Plus on November 12th. We're getting ever so closer, and we're also getting very, very excited about the possibilities of what this show could be. And, Tyler and I were talking about, what could we record for these videos. We actually have a couple ideas even past this one. But what I find so interesting about this show is we really don't know all that much about it, and that's what's one of the more fascinating things about it, that it'll be cool once we actually see episode 1. We'll be able to discuss it a little bit more, and that's what we'll be doing. We're going to be doing this leading into the show, and then when the show actually releases or starts airing, we'll have videos in between each episode as well, talking about the next one. For this, we want to talk about some characters. This is one. We're actually going to have another video next week talk about another character that could be in it. But we want to talk about if Chewbacca, or will Chewbacca be in The Mandalorian. And I was thinking, to what got me to this space was, and I'll hand it over to Tyler to start it, but I just want to kind of set it up. I think if Harrison Ford liked Star Wars more and didn't hate his character, and that's kind of joking. He's over the last couple of years, he's been more kind of warming towards Han, towards Star Wars in general. But, for a long, long time, he was very kind of anti-Star Wars, especially, in comparison to Indiana Jones, kind of always wanting, and he still does, wants to be remembered as Indiana Jones, doesn't care about Han Solo as much. That's cool. That's his preference. Honestly, Harrison Ford can do whatever he wants. But if he didn't, hate his character as much as he did, I really do think Han Solo would be a perfect cameo or an addition just in one episode to be in this show, because we know, and this is what leads us to Chewbacca, we know from the show, or we know from the movie, Episode 7, that shortly after Episode 6, once Kylo was sent away, Han Solo went back into that kind of life. He went back into smuggling. He went back into that kind of underworld of the entire galaxy, which is what he was good at, which is what he liked, and that's what he told Leia right after Kylo took Rey. So it's very possible that they would maybe they would interact. The Mandalorian could interact with a Han Solo. Now that I just flat out think is impossible. They're not going to get Harrison Ford to do that. But Chewbacca, we know that they're not tied down by any one. They do have their person as Chewbacca, but it's pretty darn easy to throw somebody in the costume and to just have him be in a quick cameo. I think it's definitely possible, but Tyler, what do you think? Do you think Chewbacca could ever appear in the show?
I don't know, honestly. I feel like it's a no, but I also feel like it's a yes. I kind of feel like, why not? Even like Alex said, like a small... It doesn't even have to really interact, I feel like, with the main characters. Like, you could literally have him in an area, and you could have a big Wookiee. Clearly it's Chewbacca, with his ammo strap and all that ammo belt that he wears around him. And he could be in the background. He's like holding all these parts or whatever. And the scene just kind of keeps going. And it's like, oh my God, did you see that? It was Chewbacca. They could do that just to tie it in. Like, oh, that means that Han's there too. You don't ever have to actually show Han. You could even say the same thing. Like, maybe at one point he'll be on a planet or whatever, and you'll kind of just see the Millennium Falcon parked there. Even in the distance, it's like, oh, geez, they're here. This is because they have to kind of, sort of, I would think, connect it to the Star Wars universe that everybody knows and loves. And what other way than to bring in different things that, especially ships or characters like Chewbacca or whatever, or even references and different things that you can say. Maybe you call him a smuggler, or you call him whatever, or maybe somebody owed some kind of debt to Jabba the Hutt. Just, there's things that they can say or show you to reference those characters. So I do think that kind of stuff will happen. Will Chewbacca be in it? I'm almost like 50-50. I feel like it's very easy because, of course, they're going to have that costume on hand, obviously. So why not? He doesn't really have to do anything. He can just kind of be there, and it would be a way. And think about it like this, too, guys, because you're going to have those articles that are like 15 things you missed in last night's episode of The Mandalorian, or things like that. And that's people click that stuff, or even videos like 2 things you missed on last night's The Mandalorian, or on the newest Mandalorian, or whatever. And one of those things maybe is Chewbacca. So so it's a way for Disney to generate free advertising for their shows, because you give them something to talk about. And people are going to be like, oh man, Chewbacca's on the show? Maybe they're going to have somebody else. And then, so let me subscribe to Disney Plus to watch The Mandalorian so I don't miss out. So, cameos do serve a purpose. So that's why I am maybe, even though I said 50-50, maybe I am leaning towards, 60-40, that, yeah, he will appear because, honestly, it's the cheapest way. CG, for the Millennium Falcon, it costs money just to add that. Costume that they already got, and again, they could even just say, hey, I don't remember the guy's name. He's a new, younger guy for this episode 9. But hey, you know what? Do you mind stopping by the set? I'm going to throw you on the costume real quick. You're just going to stand there and react. Okay. I mean, that's like a 20-minute thing. And it doesn't really cost much of anything. So I think that kind of stuff is possible. I do think it's possible maybe we do see Chewbacca. And as the season, not this season, but as the seasons, like season 2, season 3, as the seasons go on, or as the series continues, I think you will see more and more of those type of references. We might even hear at one point a reference to the Knights of Ren. You just never know how there might be time skips. We have no clue how this type of show is going to go. So I do think that it does make sense to have a character like Chewbacca appear. Not maybe, for like a whole episode. And I'm not saying Chewbacca's going to be working with this Mandalorian in an episode. That could happen. I don't know if that is what they're going to go for. But I do think it's going to be one of those things like, hey, is that Chewbacca? And then you look it up and, oh my God, it is Chewbacca. And you got the whole internet talking, oh, Chewbacca's in the Mandalorian. Now people sign up. That's just how it works. So I do think, I do agree that it is likely or possible that we do see Chewbacca in The Mandalorian.
Totally, and I agree. And to me, when I look at the show, the only thing that is stopping me from saying like 100%, I would lean towards yes too. I truly do believe they could put him in there. The only thing that would lean me the opposite way is what kind of show is it trying to be? Is it trying to be a show that is just because it's just so dark and gritty and that kind of like underworld tone? They have these characters that they definitely want you to start to care about, and they have to build them in front of you. Are they going to be the show that's just going to have those kind of cheap, like thrown at your face cameos? But the question is, and exactly how Tyler said it, something like that works completely. If you have your main characters walking through like an alley, and all of a sudden you hear a Wookiee, or maybe they can even take Han Solo's voice, Harrison Ford's voice, that says Chewie in Episode 7, and put that in it, so you could hear him, but you don't need to see him, and maybe you see Chewbacca, and like Tyler said, maybe he's got some tools, and you just assume, oh, he's working on the Falcon or something. Maybe it's before they gave the Falcon to that guy on Jakku. So they really could do it like that. What I don't see, and what I don't want, to be misleading, is I don't see Chewbacca being a main cast member. Like Tyler said, he could be, maybe in one full episode, maybe he does work with our main character. But I don't see him like joining the squad and being in multiple, episodes or multiple locations, multiple planets. More of a small cameo, more of like, this is kind of cool. And like Tyler said, that actually, the whole like 15 things you missed in tonight, that happens so much with all these different shows and different movies. And I do think that those aren't the cheap ways of doing it. Those are kind of those cool things, or like the 15 things you missed in Game of Thrones, stuff like that. They really can do it rather well with The Mandalorian without shoving it in your face, without them taking away, because yeah, it's Star Wars, and we talked about last week, like it really makes you feel like you're in the Star Wars universe, and I want that, and I don't want them to take away from that to give us like fanfare. Okay, you don't need to give us That's part of the reason why I'm not so thrilled on the idea of Darth Vader being like the Obi-Wan show. If it's done right, sure, but if it's not done right, then you're kind of just taking away from what you're trying to do, what you set out to do. So if it's something small, if it's something easy with Chewie, I think it makes a lot of sense. Like Tyler said, maybe it sells toys, maybe it gets people to subscribe to Disney Plus that otherwise wouldn't, because it's like, oh, could Ahsoka be in it? Like, what other characters could possibly appear at some point? And we'll talk about some of those characters in future videos. That could be a thing. And as long as they're not forced, as long as you don't, in a weird way, it's bad to give them too much screen time, because you can't take away from what you're trying to do. Especially if people like the show, then you have to go with what works about the show. Now, if the show sucks, if everything we've been saying for all these months are wrong, and the show's terrible, then maybe you start seeing them be desperate, and maybe you start seeing them do different things. However, it's already renewed for a season 2. I don't think they have some sort of like immense pressure on them to nail it. I think they're going to do a rather good job anyway, but we'll just have to wait and see. So, guys, let us know in the comments below. What do you think? Do you think Chewie could be in it? How would you want Chewie to be in this? And what other characters from the Star Wars universe from the time period, it has to obviously make sense, or it would make sense, which other characters do you think could be on the show? Let us know. Make sure you guys subscribe to our YouTube channel, Podcast Now. Hit that bell icon so you guys know when these videos go up. And again, they go up every single Friday leading into November 12th. We'll be reviewing and talking about the first episode as well as all the future episodes after that, and I hope to see you guys there.